Turnkey with Morgan Francis, sponsored by Integrity Roofing.
Welcome into Turnkey on Queen City News Plus, your go-to show for everything real estate in the Carolinas. We dive into the latest market trends, do's and don'ts of the industry, and provide expert advice on navigating this dynamic landscape that we call home. I am your host, Morgan Francis. And when it comes to this time of year, we deal here in the Carolinas with a lot of summer storms that frequently hit, and storm-damaged trees can pose a risk to your home. And today we have Kramer Lowe. He's going to help educate us on how to spot trouble before disaster strikes, before the tree comes down on your home. Kramer, thanks so much for joining us on today's show.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you work for Xylem Tree Care, but before that, you were an active real estate agent. You still have your license, but tell me how the two kind of provide the perfect marriage for you in your current job.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you're searching for homes, obviously the interiors and the exteriors and just that perfect home where people want to buy is important. But I think a lot of the times it gets overlooked with the exterior and the landscape. And if trees are important to you, or if you just don't even think about it, just trying to navigate that safety aspect of it. And if there's a really large mature tree and you got kids in the backyard and playing, and just making sure your trees are healthy and safe for them to be in the backyard, that plays a big factor. And I think as the plant healthcare manager here at Xylem, I am a big advocate on just kind of keeping trees safe and healthy for your families, and finding the perfect place for buying a home too.
On the real estate side of things, how many showings did you go on where the buyers asked questions about the trees around the home?
Well, honestly, my time, probably 1 out of 50.
Okay. Not a front concern for people.
Not really. So that was something that kind of was alarming to me, as I'm now into the tree health and the tree maintenance full time. And then seeing the storms and seeing how we can prevent that, I think it's a big thing to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that, and especially for agents showing their clients, and agents keeping an eye on that, and understanding the tree health as well.
So why should people care about tree health when they're shopping for a home?
Yeah, first things first is just safety. Even a 2-inch branch coming from a high spot, coming down, the velocity of it could be unfortunately fatal. And I think that's a huge thing. For me, having kids myself and playing outside, not too much because of the humidity.
Gosh, it really gets hot. It's like 90 some degrees out during the summer, and then it's the humidity on top of it. It is just the air that you can drink.
Yeah, it feels like one.
Yeah.
So being outside, and there's trees in our backyards, and I'm always looking up there, but like, Dad, what are you looking at? And I'm like, these branches good.
You're full dad mode. That's what it is.
100%, all the time. But no, I think that's a big thing in the home search. And if you care about the shade, you care about the energy costs that you can save with that, there's so many different benefits, I think, with the tree health and proper pruning, and just in the right arborist. And that kind of follows that arboriculture standard is really important as well. Not just a mom and pop person that just says, oh yeah, we'll just take that out for a couple $100.
How do you know, though? How do you know when you're shopping for an arborist? I know nothing about trees. Like, I got to trust the person who I'm calling. It's expensive to have your trees trimmed. So how do you know, how do you balance cost with finding someone who knows what they're doing?
Yeah, I think one important thing to look at is the International Society of Arboriculture, or the ISA, that they're accredited through. That is a big one. Also, the Tree Care Industry Association, or the TCIA, they hand out different certifications as well. So those two are very important. It's kind of like tree school, if you will.
But does that automatically mean that as a customer, I'm going to end up paying more because there are more qualifications?
I think it just depends.
Or you get what you pay for.
Yeah, that's true. There is overhead and big specialty equipment, but if unfortunately, if something gets neglected and you have a really massive 50-inch tree that just comes down on your house, and at that point you're having a 200-ton crane lifting it out, and that could get upwards into the 50s and
Mm-hmm.
60s, $70,000 in that range. So it's just kind of, we're trying to avoid that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially being Charlotte, being a big heritage tree and tree canopy preservation in the metro areas as well. I think it's just doing the right things to preserve that and keep them healthy. And even
So let's dive into that. Heritage tree preservation. What does that mean? Can I just look in my backyard and say, I want that one down, that one down, that one down, or we need to trim this one? Or is there like a process that I have to go through, even if I'm not in an HOA, to get that approved?
yeah, no, absolutely. Charlotte passed a new law recently to try to preserve our canopy. You know, obviously, being around here, the city's growing.
A lot of new build neighborhoods, and there's like, what canopy? There is no canopy. There are all new trees.
Yeah. No, so the city's doing what they can to preserve that.
Yeah.
So anything 30 dBH is what they measure by the diameter of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Anything 30 and greater is considered a heritage tree for Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, I believe. So,
Is that a size thing, 30 or greater? And I don't want to get too much in the weeds and confuse everyone with technicalities in the tree industry, but what exactly are you measuring?
yeah, so it's the diameter at the breast height. So about 4 feet off the ground from the trunk. So the circumference of that, it's weird. We say inches, but really, if you convert it, I think it's like 1.4 in like true inch. So this is interesting how the tree care standards work that way. So much different lingo and whatnot. But I think that's where
it's like UK versus US meters. And okay, so you have to measure the tree to make sure that it doesn't fall into this designation where it's kind of protected, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one aspect of it. But storms can also pose a huge risk to the tree. But correct me if I'm wrong, it's not even necessarily that a storm will bring a tree down, but it could weaken it, and then you could have issues later on, right?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's so hard sometimes to predict nature. Obviously, I think you can never tell. You can have the most perfect, healthy, structurally sound tree, but then a summer windstorm could just uproot it unexpectedly. All the leaves are green, no signs of disease or fungus or
like this tree. I mean, this tree that we're looking at now, the trunk looks just fine.
Yeah, definitely. Could be hard to tell, you know, with the root zone and if there was a road behind it and whatnot. But you know, we do also have arborists that are tree risk assessment qualified. So then you're kind of looking at the roots and more so than just what the leaves are producing. But you're also thinking kind of like the roots and the foundation and the structural integrity in the ground, if you will. So a lot of rainfall and a lot of moisture could bring those roots and rip them out and just with the weight of the tree.
Okay. And that's actually a good spot that I want to stop right there because we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how to have that risk assessment on trees and how you could possibly spot disease and when you need to make that phone call. So more Turnkey after this quick commercial break. Welcome back to Turnkey on Queen City News Plus. I'm your host, Morgan Francis. We've been talking about tree health and you know, it's something that a lot of people when they're shopping for a home don't think about. They think about cracks in the walls or potential issues with the home that they might have down the line, but not a lot of people actually take a look at the trees surrounding the home. We're joined by Kramer Lowe. Kramer, you are a plant healthcare manager. I love the title. Really interesting. I wanted to get into, though, the foundation of the home. We've talked a lot about trees falling on roofs and damaging the home that way, but there could be some issues beneath the surface as well, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of times that's where most of the issues come from, even to the small aspects of watering. And actually, overwatering is more crucial to a tree's health than underwatering. Actually, so
you love it too much, along with the plants. Yeah. You just love them too much and overwater and kill them.
That's true. Yeah, that's where a lot of the fungus and stuff can develop and root rot and all that stuff. But yeah, no. So I think with Turnkey in real estate in the home buying process. I think the foundation of your roots, if you have a big tree, even thinking ahead, you have a smaller tree and this is your forever home. You know, if it's an oak, it's going to get really big really quick. So 10 years down the road, you don't want any of those big, massive roots growing into your foundation. And that's where a qualified arborist can come in and just kind of help you out. And
That's not, forgive me, I'm not a tree expert, but that's not something you can stop. You can't trim the roots, can you?
You actually can, yeah. There's certain spots in the root zone that you can take. There's a critical root zone that, judging by the tree size, you don't want to get to a specific. It's kind of broken down into, I guess, fourths, if you will. If you could just Google CRZ or critical root zone, you kind of see what the tree's diameter. And you can measure it that way. For example, if it's like a 40-inch tree, 40 foot is a critical root. So in that first quarter, you don't want to touch any of that. The second piece, you can take out maybe 50%. And then the third part, the further out you go. But you can do root pruning, you could do chemical barriers, you can do physical barriers as well. We've done plenty of jobs where we took a high volume air tool that shoots out air at a supersonic volume. We call it, some people call it an air spade or a supersonic air jet, air knife. You can kind of trench out and expose those roots without damaging the fine absorbing roots for the nutrients that uptake in that. And then you could.
Is that what we're looking at right here? He's not just metal detecting?
And he's looking for gold. This one right here is actually deep root fertilization.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's just kind of
totally different thing.
It is a different thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
this is your crew doing some of their work that we're watching right now.
Yep.
So how would someone know? It's so interesting. I didn't know you could trim the roots. And so many people, I think, get their trees trimmed on a regular basis. Hopefully, maybe not all. I'm thinking of someone, maybe the host of this show, who needs to get that done. But so how do you know when there's a potential issue with roots intruding on your foundation of your home? Is that something that someone can spot themselves, or do they just need to have someone come out and take a look at it?
Yeah, well, I think the easiest thing is, say you have a specific tree near your driveway and you start noticing maybe like little cracks near your sidewalk or driveway. You start noticing that. Sometimes if the tree's planted too high, you'll start noticing like a lot of bigger roots, they call it a root flare, and you'll see more roots around that flare as well. And
coming out of the ground? Okay.
Yeah. So some root flares are more visible than others. A pine's more like a stick going straight to the ground, but a maple is going to have kind of like a curve at the end. You want to always see that curve. When it's planted too deep, more issues, and there's so much that can go on with that. But so the roots that you can see visibly, and maybe you start noticing cracks in your driveway or sidewalk, or if you have a really big tree next to your house, you want to make sure that the foundation is not getting messed up. And
you'll start to see the signs, the cracks all around, the tree roots coming from, coming out of the ground.
Yeah.
What about instances of tree disease? Is every one of those instances a tree killer, or can you still salvage the tree?
Yeah, I think it is, depending on when it's caught, you can always salvage, and there should always be a treatment. I think tree science has progressed so much over the years that there's lots of studies and lots of data, and you're finding that right person to come in and diagnose and kind of give you a program to care for that. But depending, unless it's just a really old tree and half of it's already gone anyways, kind of when you start seeing those signs of decline, or maybe it didn't leaf out in the spring and you're noticing, oh, this tree this year is a lot thinner, and you start, maybe I should call somebody.
How could you spot disease before it hits your trees? Maybe you have a tree that doesn't have like obvious disease on it. Is that a sign of maybe your neighbors have the burlap around it, or that black sticky material? Is that for insects?
That was for insects. I know, it's been a little bit, but I think in 2018, Charlotte was hit massive with cankerworm, and that was to stop them from crawling up the trunk of the tree.
Okay.
And they get stuck in that black sticky wrap.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge infestation, and it wiped out a lot of stuff. And because those worms get to the foliage and they just start eating and wiping out. And when the tree doesn't have any leaves, can't produce any of the energy.
Just move on to the next one.
Survive, and that's a good indicator for decline and failing.
So how should people? Is there a way that people can recognize that on their own trees at their home?
Yeah. If say if we're in the fungus and you start noticing mushrooms growing, mushrooms around the tree isn't necessarily bad, but if it's on the roots or on the trunk itself, that is a sign for you should probably call someone to see that. And if, like I said, if you start noticing a thinning canopy or a crown, you just notice that maybe it's not as deep of a green as it is last year or before, and you can kind of tell something's up. People can come in and do a little deeper diagnosing and searching. Maybe it's a boring insect, or if it's a fungus, or if it's just compacted root zone and it's not getting the oxygen and nutrients that it needs in the soil, or next to a big road. And there's so many different factors that could come into play, but that's where someone can come in like us and check it out.
You brought something for show and tell, correct?
I did.
All right. When we come back from this quick commercial break, Kramer is going to show us some of the tools that tree experts use to do their job. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Turnkey on Queen City News Plus. We've been talking with Kramer Lowe. He is a plant health care manager, and there are various tools that you use to do your job. We've seen one of them, a couple of them used throughout the video that we've run so far. But you brought something in for show and tell, and I'd love for you to kind of hold it up like a prized fish, and we can. I'd love for you to kind of explain what this tool is and how it helps arborists do their job.
Yeah, and definitely this here is a specialty tool. One of the things that we can use here is we call it a resistograph. Not every arborist will use this or have it, but it is essentially a tree density test. It might be kind of hard to see, but we have a graph.
Yep, I can see it.
That really measures the inner density of the tree. On the ends, it has a 2-millimeter drill bit that goes at high speed to kind of not wound the tree too much and allows for that compartmentalization. So even though you're drilling into the tree, the rate that it drills at is really high and allows that tree to kind of heal back up or reseal properly. So on this one, for example, there is a little pocket in this area that kind of signifies a void or some sort of issue inside the tree. So a lot of times you can't even see issues. So maybe there's a pocket or a hole inside the tree.
What would cause that? Is that, an issue with just generically the health of the tree, or what would cause that little dip, that pocket?
A lot of factors could play into that. Like I said, it could be being starved from its girdling roots. It's essentially strangling itself, can't get those nutrients and flow of water and carbohydrates inside. Could be a fungus, it could be a root rot or a inner density rot. Could be boring, where it clogs up those vessels. For a deciduous tree, you have the xylem and the phloem, the two pieces that move nutrients and water in the tree. So there's so many factors. I think it just depends on the situation, depends on the landscape, the soil, the nutrients.
So do you bring this thing out for every job, or what? When you're using it, what is your hope?
This one's more of a specialty circumstance. We use it a lot for mature trees to see if it's rotting on the insides, and so we do have it handy. It's just kind of a unique tool that we like to use. So anything from really tiny trees and the specialty healthcare services that we can offer, and also the large removals and pruning too. So it's just something that's an arsenal in our tool belt that we like to have on hand.
We've talked a lot about the importance of checking for tree health when you're shopping for a home, and how little people do that, how more frequently they're looking for cracks in the walls and all that stuff. And I think you said 1 out of 50 showings you did. One person talked about, I don't know if I've even had one, to be honest. But what should people look for, pay attention to in the due diligence process, which is the time that a person has to do all their checks on the home to make sure, yes, I know I put in an offer, but yes, I do want to close on this home. What should people look for or do when it comes to the exterior of the home?
Yeah, no, first, I think it's important to understand that if our tree is important, do you want the shade? Do you want the benefits that comes with a large tree in your home? If not, when you steward and take care of something in the landscape, you're committed to making sure that stays healthy for your family and for the benefits that the tree allows. If not, maybe look for those new construction homes where there's not a whole lot. Maybe a street tree is fine. Understand what you want for your family's needs, and then if you're willing to invest into that and understand that there's a big tree here, I need to think of, one, is this thing safe? Is it gonna is a branch gonna fall onto my house and as soon as I close, and then it's gonna be my issue.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Once it's yours, it's yours.
Yeah. Or so that's where we can come in, and we do have arborists on staff that do work with real estate agents, and we work directly with them and go by their clients' properties when they're in that due diligence process, and just kind of give a free estimate and say, hey, we see this could just...
I'm sorry, you said what? How much was the estimate?
I think it was
free. That free 99? I thought you said free 99. That's my favorite kind of 99.
I did. So we're more than happy to come out to any agents or any realtor associations and kind of do educational aspects. And then typically the way that we work with agents is their clients under contract, we go by the property, do a free estimate, look at what we see. Hey, this could be an issue down the road. It might be a $5,000 removal, or it could be a $500 fertilization to keep that thing healthy. Or a lot of times we've been doing ash trees. If the client has an ash tree in the backyard, which is a native tree that's been hit with an Asian beetle called the emerald ash borer that is fatal. We've
reported on that. I can't even tell you how many times. Yes. I've read scripts on air over and over and over again about them. They're a pain.
They are. Yep. So we do have trunk injection tools that are high success rates on eliminating that, or at least a preventative measure. There's ways that we can pitch for that too.
You hinted at this a little bit in terms of the pricing. What are the ranges? And I know that's kind of a loaded question because it just really depends on what you're doing. But what could people expect for like a simple tree trimming of one tree, all the way to taking a tree down and removing everything from the property?
Yeah, well, I can use this as an example. Let's just say an ash tree where you know that there's a significant pest that can alter the health of that tree. If it's in a backyard, no equipment access, nothing. It's a 50-foot tall tree. You could look in the $10,000 removal range.
Yeah.
But a treatment to prevent that could be anywhere, like I said, $500. So you could be in that range. But it is a hard to answer that because the same tree that would cost $1,000 to prune could double or triple depending on access and what is needed. If it needs to be climbed, if buckets can get right up to it, if it's right next to another person's house and $1 million car sits right under it. So it's hard to tell, but that's every situation and scenario is different.
There's a range.
There is.
Well, Kramer, thank you so much for coming on Turnkey. I appreciate it. And just like your health, it's good to keep a check on your trees and make sure that everything's in good working order. So thank you so much. And to everyone else out there, thank you so much for watching Turnkey. We will see you next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.